Welcome to the Fun Astrology Podcast for Thursday, November 16th. We already almost through this week. Thomas Miller, thanks so much for joining us. You know, as I look at this chart today, we've really covered everything well. I think that we deserve a round of applause, actually, for us, because we've covered most of everything that is there to be at least acknowledged between now and Saturday, the big Mars-Sun conjunction that's early Saturday morning. Most of the U.S., it'll be on Friday, like we mentioned yesterday. If you haven't caught the last couple of episodes, probably would be great to go back and pick those up, because that's where we covered the trines to Neptune that are happening tomorrow and the actual aspect, which is very early Saturday morning between the Sun and Mars. So I wanted to bring one other little element that I noticed that was very interesting. And I don't typically do this because there's back stuff that has to take place, but I'm going to attach a chart to today's show notes. It will be a link because the podcast apps don't do graphics, so you'll have to click on it and it will be a Dropbox link. But I wanted to show you this one other little interesting thing and introduce another aspect in that we haven't covered before. I've been doing this Noel Till series, the Masterworks series. If you wanted to find that, I had some people asking about it. Just search Noel Till, and that's Noel, just like Noel, Tyl, Till, Masterworks. Has its own URL. The site is run by Kathy Rose, so you can connect that in there as well, and that's Kathy with a K. So that will help you if you wanted to find all of that. But he uses a 165-degree quindecile aspect as also an aspect of tension. So if you have an opposition and you work back two more aspects, that would be the 165 quindecile and then the quincunx at 150 degrees. You have an interesting symmetry in today's chart. We have the yod, Jupiter at the top, Venus and Mercury at the base. And then in perfect symmetry inside the yod, we have another similar formation with this quindecile. And those two planets are the Sun and Mars. They are connected at the base with also a tense aspect, a 30-degree SemiSextile. And then that quindecile aspect runs back up to Jupiter. So I've turned all the other aspects off on the chart. So all you'll see is the sextile and the quincunxes. That's the yod. You'll see that formation. And then within it, it fits right inside. It's exactly half of everything. You'll see the semisextile of that base with those quindecile aspects going up to Jupiter, to the top. This is subtle, but it is interesting because now we have the aspect forming between the Sun and Mars in another connection to the south node of the moon. And this is a today-only thing because it breaks apart by 1 a.m. Friday morning. So this is just a Thursday, most of the day, all-day Thursday event. But wait, there's more, because there's another one. There's another one of these. It doesn't have a name, but this quindecile aspect. And the tip of that one is Venus, and the base of it is Neptune and the north node of the moon. And if you look in there, you'll see that one as well. It lingers just a tad longer. It will dissipate by 3, 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon on Friday. So the first one runs out early, and then the second one lingers into Friday afternoon, East Coast time. Of course, adjust that to your own. So what does it mean? Well, the quindeciles that we're dealing with here are aspects, according to Noel Till, of things like motivation, determination, even obsession. And on the shadow side could be things like disruption or upheaval. And I'll tell you what, I had an aha moment the other day. I mean, argue me down on this. I'm totally up for it. It's a concept that I just was like, it was one of those kick in the head kind of things. Every one of these archetypes or signatures in astrology we know has two sides. There's a shadow side and a positive side, a high timeline side and a low timeline side. And the kick in the head was, we get to choose which side it is. People say, oh, my Saturn is in Pisces and it's affecting my 7th house and our relationship is having... It's like, wait a minute. We're not hanging from planetary strings. See, the ancients didn't have this. This is where a Hellenistic interpretation varies. You and I have choice. The chart shows us where the energies are. The unconscious mind, the subconscious mind, as I've picked apart in my Subconscious Mind Mastery podcast, is very, very powerful. If Saturn is in your 7th house and you're having relationship issues and it's in Pisces and maybe somebody is lying and not telling the truth and you're living on the shadow sides, that's choosing the shadow side of that archetype. In other words, the planets, the chart, the astrology is just delivering up what you're ordering. See why I keep hammering highest timeline? Because that puts us on the favorable sides of these aspects. So then if you experience the quote-unquote negative side of a planet, let's say Saturn is in your 6th house and you get fired from your job. Well, what all it's doing then, but you're on your highest timeline, you know that you're living your spiritual path in the highest form, then what that is just direction. It's bumping you back into the right path. That was not the right job. You needed to be over here, and give it about 18 months and you'll be able to see a whole different story. I got fired. That's bad. No, you got fired. That's great. Who was that? W. Clement Stone, one of Jack Canfield's mentors. His response to everything was, that's great. If you're living the high timeline side of astrology, then everything that happens through an archetype is, that's great, because it's directing you on your path. So a quindecile, obsession, motivation, determination. What's wrong with that? That's great. Upheaval, disruption. That's great. Get rid of what doesn't serve you. There's a book on quindecile. It was published in 2001 by Rashinda Reeves. I see that it's available, looks like old, but there are some used copies for not a lot of money on Amazon. One of the write-ups I found online said that she interpreted it as whatever it takes. So there's that determination. So if we take this yod as that's something that is appointed, that there is some kind of destiny to it, and we realize that Jupiter is at the top, Mars, Sun, South Node at the base, that's concerning to me just based on what happened last month when Mars conjoined the South Node. But maybe there is some additional determination to something going on related to this. And then the other one has Neptune and the North Node at the base and the quindecile up to Venus. So if something happens in the mundane, we'll know that it was kind of fated in and that there is a spiritual component to it. There is some kind of spiritual outcome or meaning. And if you feel the same kind of thing in your personal life, especially if it's something new, I like that Neptune and the North Node indicating that this is something about your soul's spiritual journey, and it's Venus, so it might be even new relationship, maybe a new job, maybe some spiritual work that you're supposed to be doing. But there's a passion, some kind of burning yearning inside. Move it up. Jupiter's at the top. And then ride that Mars-Sun conjunction to the intensity, the passion that we were talking about yesterday. In the mundane, well, that's a different story, but we'll just watch the headlines and see if anything comes of this. I don't know. It's so fast-moving. I said this was subtle, but of note. So we'll just see. Watch and wait. See what happens. You guys have a great day. We'll be back to set up the weekend tomorrow. Hopefully really fast. I'm going to try to do it in 4 minutes. See you then.